Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. The moment you finally walk away from someone who has spent years controlling your life, questioning your worth, and stealing your joy. That instant, when you choose yourself over fear, freedom over comfort, and authenticity over manipulation, is not just a decision, it is a revolution. What happens next is something almost no one sees. The narcissist, once confident, suddenly confronted with the reality that you are gone forever, reacts in ways that reveal truths they have hidden for years. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey through that moment, that power, and that liberation. So stay with me until the very last second. The moment of departure is not always loud or dramatic. Often it begins as a quiet stirring deep inside, a small, insistent voice that refuses to be ignored any longer. It's the realization that no matter how much you've tried to bend, to compromise, to make yourself smaller to fit into someone else's world, the cost to your soul is too high. It is the instant when you see clearly that staying in a relationship built on manipulation, control, and emotional theft will not lead to love or growth. It will only hollow you out. That decision, though it may seem simple from the outside, is born from years of accumulated pain, doubt, and self-reflection. It takes courage because leaving a narcissist is unlike leaving any other person. It's walking away from a carefully constructed illusion, from someone who has conditioned you to question your own reality. In that moment, you acknowledge your worth, not in words whispered to yourself, but in a quiet, unshakable, knowing that you deserve dignity, respect, and freedom. It's the split second when fear and hope collide, fear of the unknown, of solitude, of the storm that may follow, hope for peace, for authenticity, for reclaiming a life that feels like your own. You feel both the weight of what you are leaving behind and the wings of what you are about to gain. It's a paradoxical feeling. Grief for the loss, yet exhilaration for the liberation. The moment of departure is transformative because it shifts the balance of power. It is when you stop asking permission to exist fully and start living for yourself. And although the narcissist may never understand this decision, in that very instant, you have already begun to rewrite the story of your life. And nothing can take that newfound freedom away. And while you feel the quiet surge of courage and liberation in that moment of departure, somewhere across the unseen distance, a storm quietly begins to brew in the narcissist's world. You may never witness it, and they would never allow it to show, but the truth is that your leaving rattles the foundation they have spent years meticulously building. At first, there is disbelief. How could you just walk away? How could someone they believed they controlled, someone who seemed tethered to their will, simply vanish? They search for explanations, replaying every conversation, every slight, every opportunity to manipulate, trying desperately to rationalize your absence. When logic fails, denial creeps in. They convince themselves it is temporary, that you will return, that this was just another momentary defiance they can fix. But when they realize that you are gone forever, the facade cracks, even if only in the quiet corners of their mind. Anger flares, sharp and unpredictable, a reflection of their helplessness rather than your actions. There is a gnawing sense of loss, not of love or genuine connection, but of power, control, and the carefully curated identity they projected onto you. Beneath the surface, something darker and more human flickers, vulnerability they have buried under manipulation and bravado. They may never admit it. They may mask it with rage or indifference, but inside there is a quiet panic, a trembling recognition that they are not omnipotent, that their carefully constructed world has holes too wide to mend. Meanwhile, you continue walking forward, unburdened, unaware of the internal collapse that your absence has triggered. And this is the paradox. Your freedom, your reclaiming of life and self-respect is their greatest fear made real. While they grapple with an emptiness they cannot name, you are already discovering joy in small, unassuming ways, your laughter, your quiet moments of reflection, the lightness of simply being yourself. In leaving, you do not just escape, you illuminate what they have always been unable to see, that love cannot exist where control dominates, and that true power belongs to the one who refuses to be chained. And as the narcissist wrestles with their hidden panic, the illusion they have carefully spun for so long begins to crumble. For years, they've convinced themselves, and perhaps even convinced you, that they are untouchable, that their power over others is absolute, that their charm and manipulation are enough to bend reality to their will. But illusions, no matter how dazzling, cannot survive the quiet certainty of someone walking away. In that moment, reality pierces the veil. They confront a truth they never allowed themselves to admit. Control was never theirs to keep, love was never theirs to demand. And the image of perfection they projected was just that, a projection. You, on the other hand, are finally seeing clearly what has been hidden behind the smoke and mirrors all along. With every step you take away from their grasp, the world expands, and so does your sense of self. The walls that once contained your voice, your dreams, and your very essence dissolve. You realize that the life you were missing was not somewhere far away. It has been waiting in the simple act of claiming your freedom. And while the narcissist remains trapped in a self-created labyrinth of denial, fear, and rage, you are moving forward unbound, guided by the clarity that comes from knowing your own worth. There is a subtle poetry in this shift. The more they grasp, the more they reveal the hollowness of their power, and the more you release, the fuller your life becomes. Your departure does not just mark the end of a relationship, it becomes a quiet revolution, a reclamation of autonomy, of joy, of authenticity. What they mistake for weakness, their confusion and anger, is in truth the profound strength of someone who refuses to live small. And in that unfolding clarity, you understand a vital lesson. True freedom is not about punishing others. It is about honoring yourself enough to walk away from what diminishes you and stepping boldly into the life you were always meant to live. And it is in that very act of walking away that true empowerment begins to blossom. Each step you take away from the narcissist is not just a physical departure, it is a reclaiming of your voice, your choices, and your sense of self that may have been buried under years of manipulation and doubt. With every moment you spend free from their shadow, you begin to notice the small, extraordinary truths of your own existence. Your laughter carries weight, your opinions matter, and your presence is no longer defined by someone else's approval. The world, once constricted and filtered through the lens of control, opens wide with possibility. Empowerment does not arrive all at once. It sneaks in through quiet victories, setting boundaries without fear, speaking your truth without hesitation, or simply sitting with yourself and realizing that your own company is enough. And as you grow stronger, the narcissist's reaction, once an intimidating storm, loses its potency. Their rage, their attempts to manipulate, their disbelief that you could truly leave, they become irrelevant because you have learned the most important lesson. Your power was never theirs to take, and it cannot be reclaimed by their anger. In leaving, you teach yourself what no one else could, that survival is not about enduring someone else's cruelty, but about thriving despite it. You learn to trust your instincts again, to honor your emotions, and to recognize that love, real, authentic love, does not ask you to shrink. And while the narcissist may spiral in confusion, envy, or regret, you continue to rise, your life unfolding like sunlight over a horizon you once thought unreachable. This empowerment is more than freedom. It is transformation. You are no longer a participant in someone else's narrative. You are the author of your own story, writing with courage, authenticity, and the unwavering knowledge that leaving was never weakness. It was the bravest act of self-love you could ever perform. And while you are learning the quiet power of your own presence, the narcissist is trapped in an emotional whirlwind they cannot control. They move between disbelief, rage, and obsession, trying to grasp what has slipped through their fingers. Every thought loops back to you, what you said, how you looked, the way you moved through life with a freedom they cannot comprehend. They replay moments, searching for a flaw in you, a reason, anything that could justify your departure, because their world cannot accept that someone could simply choose themselves over them. This storm is invisible to the outside world, hidden behind a mask of indifference or anger, but inside, it rages with the intensity of a hurricane against a wall they cannot break. And yet, for all their fury and confusion, there is a deep, unspoken vulnerability beneath it, a recognition that the control they believed unassailable was borrowed from your willingness to comply. Your absence exposes a void they cannot fill, a dependency they will never admit. Every manipulation they attempt, every strategy to lure or guilt you back, is a futile gesture, like a mariner trying to command the wind. The more they chase, the more powerless they feel, and the more they reveal the fragility of the image they've so carefully curated. Meanwhile, you move through life with a new rhythm, unshaken by their internal chaos. Each day, each choice, each breath of autonomy you take is a testament to the strength you cultivated in leaving. And here lies the profound lesson. While the narcissist spirals within their storm, unable to regain what they never truly possessed, you are walking into the sunlight of your own life. You are no longer defined by their reactions, by their need for control, or by the weight of their expectations. In leaving, you do not just escape the storm. You become the calm, the clarity, and the power that the narcissist will never know. And as you move through that calm, unshakable clarity, something remarkable begins to happen, not just within yourself, but around you. Your departure, your courage, your refusal to be diminished sends ripples far beyond your own life. Friends, family, even strangers who witness your journey may begin to recognize their own quiet chains. They see someone who chose self-respect over fear, authenticity over approval, and suddenly it sparks something in them, a whisper, a question, a longing they had buried long ago. By simply claiming your freedom, you become a mirror, reflecting the possibility that they too could step out of toxicity, reclaim their voices, and honor their worth. The ripple effect is subtle at first, a friend saying, "I never thought I could leave," or a sibling noticing you look lighter, happier, more yourself. And then it grows. People start to ask themselves what boundaries they have been ignoring, what truths they have been hiding from, what courage they might be capable of if they trusted themselves as you trusted yourself. Your act of walking away is not just a personal triumph. It becomes a quiet revolution, an unspoken permission for others to break free from what diminishes them. Meanwhile, the narcissist remains trapped in the echo of your choice, powerless to stop the ripples you've unleashed. Their anger and disbelief collide with your freedom and growth, and the contrast is stark. While they flail within the storm of what they've lost, you are moving forward with purpose, integrity, and joy. And the most beautiful part is this: the ripple effect doesn't require confrontation, explanation, or vengeance. It is fueled solely by the strength of your own journey, the authenticity of your choices, and the undeniable truth that living fully, bravely, and unapologetically has the power to awaken others. In leaving, you not only reclaim your life, you illuminate a path for everyone who has been waiting for the courage to do the same. And within this ripple of your courage, there is another quieter power at work, one that the narcissist can never fully grasp. It is the power of silence. They may try to fill the void you've left with messages, excuses, threats, or reminders of the past, but the absence you create speaks louder than anything they can conjure. Every moment you do know, engage every boundary you maintain is a testament to your autonomy, a signal that their attempts at control no longer hold weight. Silence becomes a language they cannot decode, a reflection of the strength you have nurtured in walking away. In their world, noise, complaints, arguments, manipulations is currency, but you have stopped trading in it. Your quiet, deliberate absence shatters the illusion of their omnipotence. They may lash out, escalate, or obsess, but all of it only reinforces the truth. The power they thought they had was borrowed, and now it is gone forever. Meanwhile, your silence is not emptiness. It is space, a breathing room where healing, reflection, and self-discovery flourish. In leaving, you give yourself permission to fill that space with life, with love for yourself, and with the energy that was once drained by someone else's control. There is an almost poetic justice in this. The more they try to provoke a reaction, the more they reveal their dependence on what you have freely taken away: your attention, your compliance, your emotional labor. And the more you refuse to respond, the stronger you become, not because of any confrontation, but because of your unshakable commitment to your own well-being. In that silence lies a quiet triumph, a living reminder that freedom is not noisy or vengeful. It is steady, deliberate, and profoundly unassailable. By choosing absence over engagement, you are no longer living in reaction to the narcissist's chaos. You are living in alignment with your own truth, and in that alignment, you discover a power they could never imagine: the freedom to be fully, unapologetically yourself. And as your silence settles like a steady tide, something even more profound begins to unfold: healing. For so long, the narcissist's presence may have felt like a weight pressing down on your heart, distorting your sense of self, leaving you questioning your worth. But now, in the space you have carved for yourself, that weight begins to lift. Every day without their manipulation is a small victory, a quiet reclamation of parts of yourself that were hidden, ignored, or dismissed. You begin to notice the subtle joys of life, the sound of your own laughter without hesitation, the clarity of your thoughts without interference, the peace of decisions made solely for you. Growth emerges naturally from this healing. You start to recognize patterns, not with shame or self-blame, but with understanding. You see how much strength you possessed all along, how resilient your spirit was even when it felt battered. Each reflection, each lesson, each boundary honored becomes a brick in the foundation of a new self, one that is wiser, firmer, and infinitely more compassionate toward yourself. You learn to trust your instincts again, to listen to your own needs, and to celebrate the small victories that once seemed impossible. Meanwhile, the narcissist remains trapped in their own turmoil, unable to follow you into this space of renewal. Their anger, their obsession, their confusion only highlight the stark contrast between your flourishing and their stagnation. And here lies the ultimate triumph. The life you are building, the inner peace you are cultivating, is untouchable. You no longer seek validation from them because you have found it within yourself. Healing and growth are not linear, nor are they quiet. They are profound, transformative, and deeply human. In leaving, you not only reclaim your freedom, but you also reclaim your soul, learning that the truest form of power is the ability to nurture, protect, and love yourself above all else. And in the midst of this healing, a new clarity emerges, a vivid contrast between light and shadow. You begin to see the world and yourself with a brilliance that the narcissist could never dim. Your life becomes sunlight, breaking through the dark corners where their control once lingered. Every laugh, every choice, every moment of self-expression is a beam of light, illuminating a path that they will never be able to follow. And in that light, you realize something profound. The shadows they cast, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the endless need for dominance were never yours to bear. They were theirs, heavy and consuming, and now you are free from their darkness. The metaphor becomes almost tangible. You are the warmth of day, moving forward with vibrancy and hope, while the narcissist remains trapped in shadow, scrambling to maintain an age, a sense of control, and a relevance they have lost. They cannot step into your light because it is yours alone. Their shadow clings to the past, to regrets, to the futility of a control that never truly existed. And the more you embrace your own brightness, the more the contrast becomes undeniable, not as a weapon, but as proof of your transformation. In this light, you see the beauty of your own resilience. You are no longer shrinking to fit their narrative. You are expanding, radiating, and claiming space in the world that is authentically yours. Your presence itself becomes a quiet declaration. You survived, you thrived, and you walked away with dignity intact. And while they remain entangled in their shadows, you move forward unafraid, knowing that the more fully you embrace your life, the brighter it becomes. And no one, not even a narcissist, can ever take that illumination away. This contrast between light and shadow is more than poetic. It is living truth, freedom, authenticity, and self-love are the light that will always outshine control, manipulation, and fear. And as your light grows, steady and unshakable, a truth emerges that extends far beyond any single relationship, a universal lesson about courage, self-worth, and the transformative power of choosing yourself. Leaving a narcissist is not simply about ending a toxic connection. It is about reclaiming your life in its entirety. It is about recognizing that no one has the right to diminish your voice, or joy, or your essence, and that true power lies not in controlling others, but in honoring your own truth. This revelation ripples through every aspect of your being, shaping the way you see yourself, the way you set boundaries, and the way you allow others to enter your life. The story of your departure becomes more than personal. It becomes a blueprint for living authentically. It teaches that love cannot coexist with manipulation, that respect cannot thrive where control dominates, and that your value is inherent, never dependent on someone else's approval. The narcissist's inability to understand or accept your absence is not your failure. It is a reflection of their limitations, and your liberation highlights the possibilities they will never access. You come to see that your life was never meant to orbit someone else's ego. It was meant to shine independently, fully, and unapologetically. And perhaps the most profound part of this lesson is the reminder that the courage to leave is only the beginning. What follows, healing, growth, empowerment, and freedom, is the reward for honoring yourself when it mattered most. The ripple effects of your choice extend into your relationships, your decisions, and even into the lives of others who witness your strength. By walking away, you do not just escape toxicity, you illuminate a path for others, proving that choosing yourself is never selfish, but sacred. Ultimately, the departure, the silence, the healing, and the light all converge to a single truth. When you refuse to be diminished, when you honor your worth, you become unstoppable. Your life becomes a testament that freedom, authenticity, and self-love are the greatest power any human being can claim, and no shadow can ever extinguish that light. And so, as we reach the close of this journey together, I want you to feel the weight and the beauty of what has been said, not as abstract ideas, but as living truths that can transform your life. Walking away from someone who diminishes you, from a relationship built on manipulation or control, is not a sign of weakness. It is the bravest act of self-love you will ever commit. It is a declaration to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you will no longer surrender your voice, your joy, or your freedom to someone else's ego. Every step you take toward your own life, every boundary you enforce, every quiet moment of choosing yourself is a triumph that no one can take away. Remember, the narcissist's confusion, anger, or obsession is not your burden. It is a reflection of their own inability to face the truth, that love cannot exist where control dominates, and that authenticity is stronger than manipulation. While they remain trapped in shadows, you are moving into the sunlight of your own life. And the light you create does more than illuminate your path. It inspires others, quietly showing them that courage, self-are, respect, and liberation are not just possible, they are necessary. So, as you leave behind what no longer serves you, embrace the freedom that comes with every choice you make for yourself. Honor the lessons, the pain, and the growth that brought you here. Let your story be a testament that life is not meant to be endured under someone else's control. It is meant to be lived fully, boldly, and unapologetically. And always remember, the greatest power you can ever claim is the one that has always been yours, the power to love yourself, to walk away from what diminishes you, and to step fearlessly into the brilliance of your own life. Your freedom is your victory, and your light, once unleashed, cannot be dimmed.